very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
Now we need a sense of global responsibility. Think 6 billion humanity equal.
Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great.
Because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping.
It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum instead of two sets of opposing ideals.
We must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force.
Within the sound of silence.
But in order to talk freely of those things, you have to release yourself of those pains.
You see, love liberates. It doesn't bind. Love says, I love you. I love you if you're in China. I love you if you're across town. I love you if you're in Harlem. I love you.
If you hit a Talib with your shoe, then there would be no difference between you and that Talib. You must not treat others that much with cruelty and that much harshly. You must fight others, but through peace and through dialogue and through education. Then I said, I'll tell him how important education is and that I even want education for your children as well. And I'll tell him, that's what I want to tell you. Now do what you want.
And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more.
You can be that great a generation.
I said that why shall I wait for someone else? Why shall I be looking to the government, to the army, that they would help us? Why don't I raise my voice? Why don't we speak up for our rights?
One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
You know what's right. Just do right. You don't really have to ask anybody. The truth is, right may not be expedient, it may not be profitable, but it will satisfy your soul.
Of course, the task will not be easy, but not to do this would be a crime against humanity.
All that is needed for the forces of evil to triumph is for good men and women to do nothing.
Think about my granddad's laugh. Think often about that night. About how some people are waiting for people like us to slide our hands against their walls and say, close your eyes. I'm going to turn on a light.
Welcome to the Forum on CHRW. My name is David Seston. In ancient Rome, the Forum stood as a place where all were able to come out and discuss matters of public interest and concern, and they were able to do so in a free and open environment. Recently, at Western University and other universities around the world, students do not feel that they are able to speak their minds or ask the questions about subjects that concern them. They feel they will be judged by their friends, their peers, and their seniors because they question what's being told to them and whether what they're being told is right or wrong. We cannot have a free and just society where people are afraid to ask the questions and are afraid to speak up. This forum is a project aiming to open dialogue on these subjects that concern students. It is a place where students can talk to other students while trying to get an idea on the concepts that are floating around them without knowing why it's there. There won't be any professors or academics lecturing. This forum will be the student's voice. Because if you hear us talk about it, then maybe it's okay for you to talk about it with your friends and your classmates. The forum will focus on the what, the why, and the how. What the issue is, why it has become an issue, and how it affects Western students specifically and university students in general. What we're talking about today is your cyber presence, how what you put online is used, where it goes, and how it changes your perceptions. Why this is important is because we are increasingly spending more time online with seemingly less concern for what we post and who has access to our information. How this affects Western students should be obvious, except that as we get more used to the digital age, our awareness of the dangers that lurk just outside of our vision lessens. The big boogeymen of corporate intelligence gathering and Big Brother government are long forgotten, even though their presence in cyberspace is increasing. On a personal level, we are sharing more of ourselves without thought or concern about how it will affect our university and future careers. And you're on with the forum, and I'm speaking with Hunter today, and we haven't actually talked before. Well, I mean, we've talked, obviously, but I haven't had her on the show, which is kind of cool. And today we're going to be talking about sort of cyber presence, I guess would be the easiest way to put it. And Hunter and Yoav, but Hunter approached me with this one a couple of weeks ago. Oh, no, it's been more than that. It was before exams. I haven't really recorded a show.
Maybe?
Yeah, I haven't recorded a show since exams started, because exams. So, I guess we're gonna bring it to you, and the easiest way we'll start off the conversation is, do you think, I guess 18, 19, your generation, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, even care about their online presence insofar as the information that they're revealing in any way, shape, or form? We'll leave it at that. So,
I think they care about their online presence in a way where they want to be known and they want to be shared, rather than they care about what information is available to like other sources. Mm-hmm. So they care more about connectivity. So having connections online, LinkedIn, Facebook. Friends on Facebook used to be about like, how many friends can I get? Mm-hmm. How popular can I get? And now it's more like, which of these friends are the most valuable to my future?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And you sort of touched on it, and we'll go into it. And it's when you go on Facebook or a whole bunch of apps, games particularly on tablet. I can only speak for Android. I'm sort of anti-Apple. But games on tablets and stuff like that, I know that, a lot of them are asking you to sign in one of two ways, either, through Google or through Facebook. And a lot of information is sort of collected that way. And just generally using Facebook, a lot of information is collected that way. Do you think your generation is even aware of how much is out there? We'll start there.
Okay, well, back in like 2009, 2006, Google and Facebook started connecting with the U.S. government to allow access to information through their services. Mm-hmm. So I think around that time, there was a lot of news articles that were coming out where it's like, Google has eyes, and they would put like little clip art eyes in the two O's, and everyone was freaking out about it. But now I think it's more about people just know the surface from back then. I was a kid growing up back then, so I was Google is terrifying.
I was gonna wait, but I'll interject here.
Okay.
So in 2006, I was 26, and very much aware of that, and understood the connection there. And how old were you in 2006?
2006, that was 10 years ago, so I was 9.
Yeah. How much did you even really pay attention or care?
Actually, it kind of scared me, because
Really?
I was like, oh my goodness, we're being watched. But now, what I was saying before is, that's like, it feels like it's in the past, and like it's already a known fact that, our presence online can be known by almost anyone, if not everyone. And I feel like it's not as much as a worry for my generation. Obviously, I'm generalizing. I know there are people who feel strongly about it, but
we're talking in general terms today, and I think anybody who listens to the forum understands that. Generally, we're going for generalization.
So generally, I think that people are just aware of the surface threats, and they don't really care about anything underneath. So if you're logging in,
what are the surface threats?
So it's more like there's a couple things that Facebook has access to. So Facebook has, this is just an example, Facebook has access to anything you give them. So if you say, I'm in a relationship, they know you're in a relationship. If you say, I like Headley, they know you like Headley.
Okay.
And so this can
Do people actually admit to that? Sorry, couldn't resist. So generally any information you put out there can be accessed by anybody at any time, and whatever you input.
But then they also have access to whatever you use your account for. So if you log in to Instagram with Facebook, and Facebook owns Instagram, then they know what's also on your Instagram and who you're connected with on your Instagram. If you log into a game on your phone with your Facebook account, then they also have access to that. So there's all these layers to how much they actually have access to just because you're using your Facebook account or your Gmail account. Even Google has like Calendar and like To Do or whatever, Google Drive.
Which I couldn't survive without, I'm not gonna lie.
their Google ecosystem, they have access to all of that as well. So if you're using it, then they have access to it, and they have access to anything that's connected to it and your internet activities.
Yeah, and I think just to go a little bit further, if I may, even more than that, the vast majority of people, I guess the number of people, particularly in your generation, that I see, what is it called? Not logging in, but where you show your location.
Location status?
Yeah, it's just, a checked in. They checked in from here. But, most games that I've actually looked at, they just access your GPS at any given time.
Yeah. So in your phone settings, if you have your GPS on, which most people do, or location on, because most people have their location on for like Snapchat filters. So if you keep it on, then any app can access that at any time.
And then the second you connect through Google or Facebook, there you are. They know exactly where you are at sort of almost any given time.
So I think that's like under the surface where people don't realize. They just take the surface. They're like, yeah, they're accessing our information. Okay, like I'm giving it to them pretty much. But then they don't realize that underneath that is this other layer of them being completely mapped out, and they're also being like set into a certain like a portfolio or a demographic based on what is on Facebook, and then based on what's on Facebook and what your friends are also into, they can also create this other like portfolio or profile for you, and therefore take your information and like assume that you like something else and advertise to you in that way as well.
Well, so I guess the first sort of question I think that everybody has is, if all they're doing is advertising, how is that so bad? I mean, we get
that's what I was thinking.
we get advertising, like you watch TV, you get advertisement. Heck, you even get it in Netflix. So how is them tailoring advertisements just to me so bad?
See, that's sort of where my opinion is a bit confused. I don't see much wrong with it because, if they're tailoring ads to me and it's like specifically at me, then it's like, isn't that just more of a benefit if I want to see things? But other people I know, especially in MIT, there's a lot of like heated debates over stuff like this where a lot of people will be like feel very strongly about it and how it's sort of like their life is being invaded and their identity is being stolen for malicious reasons. So to make money when you're not getting anything in return, pretty much, from these corporations. Yeah.
Well, I think that's sort of where the issue sort of starts coming out of this is, we'll talk about sort of money in Facebook in a second, but they're generating a lot of revenue off of you. Like, there are companies out there whose entire job is to collect personal information and then sell it. So, and this is a multi-billion-dollar industry to just and we're not even talking about identity theft or anything like that. It's just quite literally we want to know who you are, where you live, how old you are, do you have a family, all that sort of stuff. And this is a lot of money that you absolutely in no way, shape, or form profit off of. Facebook sort of takes it, and Google takes it to that next level. I don't think even a lot of people realize, like, when you're surfing the internet and stuff like that, and you're using Foxfire or Google Chrome, and you don't have the ads disabled, any ad that pops up on there is all filtered through Google, and they're specifically targeted to you. It's like, I have some people complained about the type of ads that they get, and I'm like, this has nothing to do with Google. This is completely your history. Yeah. So if you're objecting to sort of the advertisement quality that you're getting or what you're
because of what you search.
Exactly. And websites that you've been to and stuff like that. So I guess that's sort of like the surfaced issue here is, but me being a little bit more paranoid, and anybody who follows me on Facebook or anything like this knows I'm a huge there is a level of government interference that I think takes it a little bit further, and you alluded to it at the very, very beginning, that Google and Facebook share.
Like, I believe there's like Microsoft, there's AOL, LinkedIn.
Not even that AOL is really relevant anymore.
Okay, whatever. But I had a list of these where like every couple years another one joins the program and like gives like signs to giving information to the government if it matches like court-based information. So if it's so
there's that, and there's even Canada has that, is that if there is a court order requesting your internet history, then an ISP has to provide it, and companies will provide it and stuff like that. And this kind of goes on for things like illegal downloading, music, not so much of an issue in Canada, but movies, particularly TV shows, that sort of thing, books. You know, they can come back to you and say, you know, it's huge in the States with the RIAA and their multi-$1,000 suits against, you know, like college students and stuff like that. But there's actually a little bit deeper than that. And I don't want to go tin hat conspiracy theory on here, but there's actual, you know, like we know that the government, particularly the U.S. government, because they are a little bit more paranoid, but that's not to say that CSIS isn't. But anyway, they do use web crawlers and language analysts to analyze what you're saying. And sort of to take this to the next level, there was actually an article about it's a web crawler program. It's a language analyst program that they're actually thinking about implementing in Canada on Facebook that searches the language being used to identify depression and signs of possible suicide.
Okay.
And that if you start typing in these sort of ways, particularly on Facebook, and this is sort of essentially a plugin for Facebook, but that it will alert local medical professionals that you may be in trouble. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I find that kind of annoying, actually.
Really? Just annoying? Why?
Well, based on like what I know from classes and whatnot, research about Facebook, a lot of their algorithms that determine your profile, in which like they sort of guess what else you like and what else you're into to take that to advertisers, a lot of it's incorrect. Like they make wild assumptions, and it's like
some Superman leaps going on.
Yeah,
there.
where they'll like say, okay, this person is liking this video, so obviously they like dogs, even though it has nothing to do with the video. And what if I really hate dogs and they assume that I like dogs? That's really incorrect. If I hate dogs and they think I like dogs, that's just wrong.
And now you're getting all these advertisements about dogs and cute little baby photos.
Just because of a mistake that the algorithm made. So I feel like something like that right now, I don't think it would be that accurate. And I think there would be a lot of issues with it where like authorities will be contacted for someone just making a sarcastic joke online.
Well, obviously, you know, that's one of the problems I run into. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a little bit sarcastic.
Just a bit.
But it doesn't come through on Facebook all that. It's really hard to type sarcasm. I really think there needs to be a sarcastic font. And that would just be my default font for most social media. I usually just use
both uppercase and lowercase combined, so it's like a lot of waves in my language, so you can sort of tell that's really sarcastic.
Okay, that's something that your generation does that drives me up the wall. I'm not gonna lie. When I see that, you know, capital little, no, I just tune out at that point. I just assume that most people think I'm sarcastic all the time, but apparently they don't. So I don't know. However, so I think we've hit on sort of one of the really kind of cool differences between your generation and my generation. And we're really kind of the two generations. I mean, like we're a generation apart. You know, obviously we're kids in the middle, but they don't count. In that your immediate thought is, oh my God, what if they get my advertisement wrong? My immediate thought is, this can be tweaked so easily to monitor anything that I'm saying for any sort of...
When you were first talking about it, that was the thought that came to my mind. Like, this could be used for the wrong reasons.
Well, government surveillance, I think, is the easiest way to put it. You know?
But at the same time, it could also be used for misreading.
But what you talked about was the advert was advertisement online thing, and this really does come down to the heart of the matter in that your generation. I mean, you're concerned about this. This is you brought it to me like, hey, this is an issue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that aren't even that concerned. And I don't even think they thought about, there's no thought about where this information goes, who's using it, who's going to bother you, what sort of profiling is taking place about you, both as an online consumer and as well as where governments are even concerned about you. I do know people have been stopped at the border, had issues at the border because of their Facebook pages. And that's just surface level. Like, that's just,
At the same time, I've seen some really messed up... Can I swear in this?
I would prefer if you didn't.
Okay. I've seen some really messed up Facebook pages that have not been blocked or deleted. Because Facebook has the authority to delete Facebook pages.
Of course they... Well, you say they have the authority to. It's their stuff. They can do whatever they want.
It's just the content that some people put up there where I've seen profiles that are completely dedicated to, like...
racial hatred, anti-gay movement, everything.
Anti-Islamic, and that's their entire profile. And you look at that and you're like, how are people agreeing to this and not reporting this person?
So not to get it, anybody who's listened to the show knows where I'm going with this almost instantly, would be the Western White Student Union page. Because it's still up, it's still active, they still post. However, they haven't done anything to break the terms of service. So while I said earlier, Facebook can do whatever they want, they have a terms of service, and if you don't violate those terms of service, if they just start randomly deleting stuff, then people lose faith in the company and they stop doing things. So they are sort of bound by their own rules. So that really kind of comes into the question. The first thing is, I guess, Facebook really can't... while we're talking about them monitoring and stuff like that, they use algorithms, and we'll talk about sort of company size and that sort of stuff later on. But they just literally don't have the manpower to monitor every single webpage. I mean, you were saying how many users are on Facebook?
1.6 billion every month.
A team of 1,000 people, it would take them years to just, and that's just users. I mean, I have 3 Facebook pages. 4 hidden groups, the whole deal. So that's just users. Trying to track everything that goes on within Facebook would be, almost impossible. So the first thing is, if you come across something that you find objectionable, you have the right to report it. You can sit there and go, no, this isn't okay, guys. And then they'll look into it and go from there. So maybe the ones you've stumbled across just haven't been reported
I
yet.
have a personal story. It's just very short. I came across a page. Actually, someone screenshotted it and put it on Tumblr. And that's how it spread. And so they were asking, like, this guy is posting articles about, like, getting Muslims out of his community, like, out of his neighborhood by doing certain things on, like, religious days. And it was pretty much hate crime. Yeah. And also, like, what was the other one? It was definitely hate crime, and it was like he was planning to do this crime, and he was getting people in on it. And there was, like, a couple thousand people in on it, which is a lot for something like that. Yeah. And this was in America. And so I went to the source of the link, and it's a Facebook page, and he's posting everything like this. Every day he's posting articles like this and asking people to do these things. And so I reported it to Facebook as hate speech, and they came back to me and they're like, actually, we don't think it's hate speech, so we're not going to deactivate his page. I did report another time, and I brought it to I was actually going to bring it to, like, the Islamic Students Association at Western to see if they had any connections, or, like, if they could mention it somewhere. And by the time it got to them, the page was already deactivated because I reported it like 3 times.
No, and that's good. It's good that you did that. And so in the first instance, you certainly no justification here, just reasoning.
Yeah.
One, so you report it, and another individual then judges it based on their individual basis. Yeah. So the second you put individual bias in, there's always a problem. So multiple reportings is never a bad thing. Getting multiple people to report it, never a bad thing. Really, you're making work for somebody, keeping them employed. On the other side of it is, certainly what Canada considers free speech and what the U.S. considers free speech is very, very different in some really bad ways.
Yes.
And what we consider hate speech and what they consider hate speech is very, very different. And I'm certainly not condoning it. I certainly think Canada, within reasonable limits, is one of the best things that was ever put into the Constitution. So unfortunately that, it didn't have maybe the best result that we could have hoped for. But at the same time, I certainly think, just by bringing that up, report it. If you find something you don't like, report it. If it doesn't get taken down, report it again. But do understand that some people's perspectives are different than your own, and you might not agree with everything somebody says, but it doesn't necessarily make it hate speech. Not in that instance, as far as I'm concerned. In that instance, just go away. But
it was very much so.
in a general statement, I say things that I know.
The internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone could post something, and maybe they're from a different culture, and over there, that's what they believe in, and then someone from the West versus like the East or something, they're like, oh, that's not how we do it here, and they start freaking out. But like, I think the internet is, right now, it's about connections, like I said before. If you can connect to people from other countries, that's great, but use it as like a way to get to know other cultures rather than...
So you're talking to the anthropologist about non-ethnocentricity, and I could just do a whole show on that. You could do a whole career on just not being ethnocentric. But yeah, I think that, the greatest thing is, particularly here at Western and students like that, we have international students from quite literally all over the world. Some of the guys in like the first episode mentioned just how diverse Western is, and I can't remember anymore because I'm old. But like from multiple different countries all over the world, and some of their things, some of their customs, some of the way they think isn't the way that the Western world thinks. Even the differences between Canadian and American students is pretty vast in certain areas. Let alone Canada and China, Canada, Japan, and other places. So while somebody may offend you, it may not be an intentional offense. And instead of getting all upset at them, maybe the easiest way, even on the internet, is to ask for clarification as to why you think this way and stuff like that. And I'm always big about conversation and tolerance and stuff like that. So, but the joys of this show and the rambling and going off on tangents and stuff like that.
We were talking about security earlier on.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it, So one of the things that's trying to sort of make its way into North America is Alibaba, or the Western culture would be Alibaba or AliExpress, which is this huge corporation and there's the timer. I knew that was going to happen. So we'll finish off on talking about Alibaba for a second, then we'll go to the commercials. It's this huge corporation that takes in a whole bunch of individual online retailers and gives you access to them all throughout the world.
Okay.
And they're connected with ChinaNet and all that sort of stuff. So they literally know everything that you buy and stuff like that. So very much how Google and Facebook keep track of literally every website that you go to, everything that you buy online, all that sort of stuff. When you're dealing with sort of international purchases and stuff like that, not only are you just dealing with Google and Facebook, but you're dealing with the rest of the world and how they perceive you. So I think it's sort of important to keep an eye on how much information you release. Mm-hmm. With that thought, we're going to go to break. We'll be back in a second. Hold on.
My name is Josephine. I'm going to second year medical science, and you're listening to 94.9 CHRW.